Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 1 Episode 10 Common Ground has finally released, and with it we return to the heart of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, the Separatist capital, Raxus Secundus. So let's break down everything that went down in the episode, and how the story will move forward now that we've seen pretty much all of the footage from the trailers. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe for more awesome Star Wars lore content. So the episode begins on the planet Raxus, where the Empire have firmly taken control of the former Separatist capital. The Senator for Raxus, obviously a true believer of the Separatist cause, unlike the Trade Federation, the Commerce Guild and the Techno Union, and is disgusted that he will now have to follow the new Empire and become a puppet for Emperor Palpatine. The Senator's droid tells him that if he refuses to comply, he will end up arrested like the other Senators. Now this is actually a reference to the group known as the Delegation of 2000, which was first seen in the deleted scenes of Revenge of the Sith. It was led by Padme, Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, Jar Jar Binks, and many others, and they presented a document called the Petition of 2000 to Palpatine, denouncing his refusal to hand back emergency powers and his transition to Imperial governors. Obviously, this was a horrible idea in hindsight, as Palpatine now had a list of every single one of his enemies in the Senate. As you can probably guess, Palpatine very quickly arrested and executed almost all of them, which is what the Senator's droid is referencing. Following this, the Senator for Raxus, Avi Singh, is asked to say a few words by the local Imperial leader, Captain Bragg, in support of the Empire, but deep down in his heart, he knows he just can't do it. To true Separatist believers like him, the Empire is just the next iteration of the government that they already despised, the Republic. After speaking out against the Empire, he is then dragged away by the clone troopers stationed on Raxus, and heavy armaments including ATTEs are brought in to brutally suppress the citizens. Luckily, however, the Senator has a dead man switch, which his droid GS-8 immediately activates after he is taken away. This droid sends out a message for help, which reaches Sid back on Ord Mantell. Sid then delivers the mission objectives for the Bad Batch, but they really aren't too happy to be helping out a Separatist, since they were literally sworn enemies not too long ago. But of greater concern to Hunter is Omega's safety. Sid offers to watch over Omega at the den, but Hunter doesn't exactly trust her either, but really he has no other choice. So after receiving the mission, they travel to the capital of Raxus Secundus, Raxalon, the home of the old Separatist Senate building. When they touch down on the surface, Echo and Tech get into a bit of a heated argument about working with the Separatists, and Echo is understandably disgusted by it, but again, they really don't have a choice. Obviously, Echo was way more hard done by the Separatists than any of the others, since they literally turned him into a cyborg to extract Republic strategies out of him. You just can't blame him. Following this, they are greeted by the Senator's protocol droid, who begins to give a long-winded explanation about the situation, but having learned from Sid, the Batch tell the droid that they just don't care. After this, they begin sneaking around the compound where the Senator is being held, and they are forced to knock out and completely body quite a few of their fellow brothers in order to get past the surveillance systems that have now been set up by the Empire. It's good to see them use stun on their blasters, unlike a certain Coruscant guard trooper, although they were throwing clones out of windows not too long ago. So when it's a life or death situation, they'll do what they must. Back at Sid's den, Omega once again shows off her ridiculously sharp intuition, beating the two guys from the prison on Obadiah in the Martez arc at a game of Dedrick, which of course was first seen in A New Hope. Sid instantly gets the bright idea to use Omega's intuition to start gambling, and Omega is ruthless, asking for a 60% cut. Sid then agrees to these terms, and they get straight to work. There are a lot of theories which say that this sharp intuition could be hinting at light force sensitivity for Omega, and with all the connections to Palpatine, Snoke and force sensitive cloning from Mando and now this show, it wouldn't surprise me if there was some slight connection. And just to add on top of this, we know from the Darth Plagueis novel that force sensitives and those with higher midichlorian counts were banned from gambling in many locations around the galaxy because of their obvious advantage. So this could be another hint at Omega's true power. Back on Raxus, the Bad Batch manages to bust into the room where Captain Bragg is about to use an interrogation droid on the Senator and manages to stun her to the ground. The interrogator droid has been used in everything from A New Hope to Rebels to The Mandalorian and even the Darth Vader comics. It's definitely an iconic and very threatening droid. Interestingly, the Senator says the word Draconian, which is based off of the Greek legislator Draco, who obviously didn't exist in this galaxy. But since this is Star Wars, there's often a good explanation to patch things up. In universe, there's a language called Taiwanese, which was the language of the planet Taion, and happens to be the origin of all of the Greek letters in the galaxy, like Alpha, Omega, Lambda, Delta, and all the others. But either way, that's just a little fun connection to the real world. After this, the Bad Batch's position is quickly compromised, and they soon have the entire city's clone garrison on their tails. The group are forced to make some pretty risky maneuvers, but they eventually commandeer one of the ATTE vehicles, but don't manage to get too far before receiving some brutal damage. The Senator is eventually forced to throw his esteemed vase at one of the clone troopers to help in the escape, but after he does so, he admits that he never much cared for it anyway. Following this, the group managed to escape back to their ship, but Senator Singh is having second thoughts about leaving, wondering if he's really doing the right thing by leaving his people alone on Raxus while he gets to flee. The others quickly reassure him that if he doesn't leave, he'll likely be captured anyway and won't be able to fight for them. And to add to that, Echo even tells the senator that he should live to fight another day, a very nice callback to Hardcase's line when he sacrificed himself above Umbara in the Clone Wars. After this happens, the Bad Batch arrive back on Ord Mantell, and on their way to Sid's den, they notice something very strange. There's an awful lot more attention down this side alley than they used to, which really can't be a good thing. They are then greeted by speeders full of people, dismounting and rushing into Sid's den to join the fun. At this point, the Bad Batch are deeply concerned, but they move inside anyway. Inside, Sid is coaching Omega into winning game after game after game of Dedrick, making them both a lot of money, but more importantly paying off the Bad Batch's debt to Sid. This whole thing is reminiscent of the episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender called The Runaway, where Toph, Sokka and Aang use their powers to defeat notorious gamblers. Either way, Omega and Sid see no problem with this, but Hunter on the other hand is concerned that it might be teaching her the wrong lesson. And in opposition to that, Wrecker is ecstatic at Omega's new skill and gives Hunter a very dodgy look. As the senator and Sid go off to discuss the terms of their payment, Omega tells Hunter that she only started playing Dedrick games because she wanted to be useful and not left out of the squad missions. Really, all she wants is to still be part of the Bad Batch and to come along with them, no matter how hard or how dangerous it might seem. Even though she knows that she's part of the squad, when Omega gets left out it still stings and makes her feel like she's a lower tier member of the group. Of course, the other members are just looking out for her, but she doesn't understand this just yet. After hearing this, Hunter realizes his mistake at leaving Omega behind and offers her a deal. He gives her the chance to play one game of Dedrick, and if she wins, Hunter promises to never leave her out of a mission ever again. And for some reason, the writers decided to leave us wondering and not show us the result of the game. With only 6 episodes to go, however, I think Omega definitely won, because she can't be left out of any more missions with only 6 episodes remaining. And that is where the episode was cut off. Next week's episode is called Devil's Deal, so we'll likely see the Bad Batch come face to face with somebody they would consider on the bad side. And after they meet up, they will probably be forced to get into a deal with him, leading them down a dark path. Put your bets down in the comments of which familiar face we might see of someone who fits the description of Devil's Deal. It might even end up being Maul, since he's still alive at this time, and he looks exactly like a devil. But either way, it should be interesting to see who the Bad Batch have to make a deal with. So that is my full breakdown of Star Wars: The Bad Batch Season 1 Episode 10 Common Ground. Make sure you subscribe for more awesome Bad Batch content, as well as the ongoing War of the Bounty Hunters comic series, which is going absolutely crazy right now, and they've even just brought Dirge back. So if you're a fan of the O3 Clone Wars series, make sure you check that out, because the man himself, Dirge, is back from the dead. And we also know that the War of the Bounty Hunters comic series will be directly tied into the Book of Boba Fett, with Boba having flashbacks to the events of the comics. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.